everyone. Hello, good evening, wherever you may be watching this. We're just getting ready to go here. So as usual, we usually like to allow a little bit of time for people to log in, especially tonight. This is the opportunity for people to, in the group, log in and try out Google Hangouts for themselves, Google Hangouts on air for themselves. Of course, you need Google Hangouts on air for your final. Now, this, of course, doesn't preclude anybody from trying it for themselves outside of this. However, it's really important for you to make sure you've tried it a few times, perhaps, before the final exam. Without a Google Hangouts on air broadcast, your final exam will be worth 0. We need to see you while you write the final exam. So as we're getting started here, it's just 7 o'clock now, so there will still be some people who are logging on, and that's fine. While we get going, we may end up going through this a few times further, but I'm going to take the moment right now for those of you who might be watching this afterwards. I apologize, my camera seems to be having trouble with the autofocus right now. Who are looking at this afterwards, how to sort of start and set up the Google Hangout. It's actually really simple to do. So I'm just going to get out of this now. I'm going to go share a page. I'm going to go share a browser page, a Safari browser page, I hope. I think this one right here, yeah, right there. So right now you should see in front of you Safari browser page. Now this is another page that I maintain. This is my professor page as opposed to the course page. In order to do a Google Hangout on air, I'm going to show you the difference between the two. We just go into our regular Google Plus page, scroll to Hangouts. Now this is really important. I'm going to distinguish between Hangout, which is just, it's like a Skype conversation, the video Hangout, and a Hangout on air. We do not want this. We do not want that. That will not record. We need the recording. We do want this, Hangouts on air. So I'm going to show you what we don't want, this thing right here. We do want this. And again, this is the Hangouts on air. This is why I keep putting this in emails. So it's not just a Google Hangout, like a regular one that you might do. That's Hangout on air. You're broadcasting to the world. Really easy to do it. So if you were to do it, if you were to do it for your final exam, for example, you would put your name and something to this extent, what it is. Likely for you, you'll start this right at the time you're starting your exam or just before. So you'll just let it go now. Make sure you've got the audience as public, and you can do the favor of adding me. That would actually allow me to be able to come in and help you out should you be having troubles, not with the property in your exam, if I happen to be around, but with setting it up perhaps. And then you hit share and away you go. Now it might not work for me because I'm already in a Google Hangout right now. But yeah, that's how you would do it. So that's basically how you go about doing a Google Hangout. As people are coming into the room, as people are coming into the Hangout tonight, we will go through and we will go through with individuals their own practice Hangout. As I said again, if we don't get to that tonight, we don't have anybody in the room yet, If we don't get to that tonight, that's okay. You've just seen how to do it. I've sent you tutorials on how to do it. Lots of videos out there on how to do a Google Hangout on air. And you can set up an appointment with me to do a Google Hangout on air, a practice Google Hangout on air before you get set for the final. I highly urge you to do that so that you wouldn't want to get to the day of the final, go to set up a Google Hangout on air, not be able to do it, and then not be able to write the final. That would cause you to default on the final. So that's where we are with that. All right. We'll just allow a couple more minutes for people to come into the room. In the meantime, while that's going on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up a look at tonight's. We were also going to look at the last email I sent out because there was a lot of things in that needed to be digested. Now, I am in the process of uploading a few videos for you in terms of Chapter 19. You can expect that to be on the final. We even have Shakira, who's wanting to get to the live feed. What I'm going to do, Shakira, I'm going to send you out an invite. So I'm just going to go to the live feed here again. Just go to my page. It's going into my email there. So I'm just going to go to Shakira. I think I have you in any of my circles. So I'm just going to go to FNCE 310 invite. Sent the invite out again. We have one viewer, so we can even go see who that is. If that's you, Shakira, you should have got the invitation right now, and you should be able to come into the room. It would be in your email. It would be in your email if you got it. I'm just going to go into my email right now, and I'm just going to open up. So you don't see all of my emails. I'll just wait. I'm going to open up the email that I sent to everybody. Why is it doing this to me? So my sincerest apologies. Chrome has been a little bit fussy these days. I'm actually going to do this email first. I'm going to share this with you, and we'll see who else is maybe come into the room in the meantime. Doesn't look like anybody's come back into the room, so that's fine. The one I'm going to share with you, pardon me, I'm just going to see if we can get this working a bit better. I don't know why all of a sudden it's all of a sudden darker. I'm going to share the screen with you. Gosh. And this email that I sent out yesterday to everyone, the course ends on not on Wednesday the 23rd, but on Tuesday the 23rd. The 23rd, I made the mistake for some reason. I had it in my head that Wednesday was the 23rd, and that's when your final exam is. It's Tuesdays the 23rd. So the course ends on Tuesday, June 23rd. That's when your final exam is going to be. That is when a lot of stuff you have due comes due. So make sure that you have that in there, that the 23rd is the day that you want to be aware of. There we go. It's a little bit lighter now. Here, we'll go down like this. There we go, like that. Who knows? All right. I did want to go over the class email from last time because there was a lot in that email that I wanted to make sure that people were aware of. So I'm just in it right now, and I will start sharing that with the class. There we go. So I'm going to go share the email with you right now. I want to go through it point by point by point by point because I do think it is tremendously important. Okay, so here we go, and you can see it. If you have it yourself, you can watch it. So here we go. The first thing that we want to talk about is the final exam. So the final exam, I would go, there's a lot of you have been asking questions already about the final, and a lot of that is in Moodle. It is in, maybe we'll just go to that really quickly for you. It is in, I'll just go find it, in Moodle. Okay, so it is in the questions, and you folks have been doing a really good job of using the student questions well. So a lot of this stuff on Trading Journal, how to broadcast on Google Hangouts, what time on June 23rd. So you can write it anytime on June 23rd that you like. Okay, so we've got that there. So that's a really important one in terms of the next point in here that we wanted to go through was the Google Hangouts on air. You must be able to broadcast via Google Hangouts. And notice that students who do not create a recorded Google Hangout on air session as part of the final exam will receive a mark of 0 for the final. So it doesn't matter if you ace the test in Moodle, if you don't record the session, if you don't actually record the session, there's no way for us, for me, to verify that it was you writing. Okay. So you need to have that recorded evidence, and the time that you write needs to match up with the time in the Moodle log. So the time on your broadcast needs to match up with the time on the Moodle logs. Now, obviously, it's not going to be exact. So there might be a minute or two difference, but those times need to be close enough. We suggest practicing that by the 15th. So that if there are problems, you have time to deal with them. Unfortunately, and do excuse me for, unfortunately, because, and you may hear my voice being a little further away, just have to make a quick adjustment here. Unfortunately, if you, again, decide to wait to the day before or the day of and can't get your problem resolved, then it does result in a 0. So that is kind of on you a little bit to make sure that gets done. So again, date and time of the final, and the material. So most of it will be related to options. There will be some on strategies. You might even be given some scenarios. You might even be asked to review some of your trades. I didn't put that in there. So be ready for that. It won't be anything terribly hard, but some of it, you're not necessarily going to be able to prepare for. You're just going to have to know some of the strategies and some of the ways. For example, you would use a moving average. So you might be giving a scenario and explain how you would use a moving average or RSI or something like that, and explain some good money managing strategies. So those are a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. Okay. So a couple of things there. We're back into the session now. Just give me one moment. There we go. A little bit more light coming in now. I hate my hair. All right. What else do we want to really be aware of? Just give me one moment here. So here we go. And all of a sudden, it has occurred to me that your email did not go out exactly as it was supposed to, or may not have gone out exactly as supposed to. Looks like it was partially cut off. Give me one moment here, in which case we may be drawing this session closed a little earlier than we had anticipated. If not, no big worry, because I have the full email here. Give me one moment. My sincerest apologies here. Inbox. Sent. No, it looks like it just didn't come up on mine. So it does look like it came up, that you did get a full one. So that's good. If for some reason you read this and you didn't, please let me know. So it was just showing up a little bit differently than I thought it would have. I'm actually going to stop presenting that one. I'll go to a different one here. Doesn't look like we have anybody who's yet enjoying the room. Here we go. So this is going to be a view from Apple Mail, which might look a little bit different than yours. So the rankings. So you folks have been doing fairly well, actually. You'll see that the majority of the class is doing better than the S&P 500 today. The S&P 500 as of last week during the competition was down 1.34%. So of course, everybody above that would get a 20 out of 20. Do be careful though. If the S&P if you fall below the S&P 500 and say are in the second quartile or the next 40%, your grade will go down. Future participation. So this is important. And I'm going to actually demonstrate this a little bit using PowerPoint. So give me 1 minute. I'm going to show PowerPoint, because what will often happen is that I don't think this is going to be a big issue, but some students have tried to get around participating in the class and still getting a good mark. So the question, how do you get a good mark without doing anything? Some students have tried this. So we've had to put in a couple of provisions here to prevent that. And I'll show you what I mean about non-participation. So let's say we had a competition with, I don't know, let's 4 people. Why not 4 people? So, yeah, 4 people. So person A, so this doesn't get confusing. Person B, person C, person D, and then person E. Actually, I have a better idea here. I'm going to copy all of this, and I'm going to put this really quickly into a spreadsheet, because it's probably easier to demonstrate to you with a spreadsheet. So give me 1 moment here. Match destination formatting. Okay, so there we go. 150%. And I'm just going to go back now into Google+. We're going to start sharing again. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and let's say we've got a 6-week competition. So if we look here after, I'm just going to make up some figures here. So these are our rankings, let's say, after 3 weeks. I'll delete these 2 weeks. Person A, person B, person C, person D. And I just want to highlight person B, sort of to highlight this idea of participating. So week 3, everybody did 5 trades. Everybody did their 5 trades. But person B noticed that, hey, if I keep where I'm at in the competition, so So these two people would have gotten 100%, 100%, 80%, I think it's 60%. No, 80%, 60%, and I think this is 20% in the out of whatever the possible grade was. Person B says, listen, I'm better off if I do this. There's a really good possibility that I am going to finish off with a higher percentage, a higher return. So I'm just going to put in a week 3 return column. Week 3. So let's just week 3 return. So let's say that everybody had done their 5 trades, and we looked at the return, and blah blah blah. This is 5%. I'm just going to have this go 4%, 3%, 2%, 1%. So all right, to help out with the example, person B says, hey, listen, at 4%, if I do more trades, there's a chance that in the next week, and I'm going to just take away the 0 trades, in the next week, there's a chance that I could go down. And so we might have, say, next week, the overall return here is 5.1%. If this person goes up to 3.6%, and because of my trades, I go down to 3.5%, if that were to happen, then I would be in 3rd place. I wouldn't maintain my spot. So I'm better doing 0 trades and maintaining 4%. And they do this all the way through in order to maintain their position. Well, they're not really acting in the truest sense of the competition. And in fact, because they're not acting in the competition, in order to maintain that 4%, they're preventing this person from jumping into their place, from jumping into 2nd place. So how I would adjust that then is I would immediately give this person 0%. I think it says I would put them to the bottom. I'd likely give them 0%, so that really the competition, if they haven't participated, obviously are would totally out of the spirit. I mean, some people do miss trades from week to week. That wouldn't eliminate them. But something 0 trades or only 1 trade or 2 trades where I feel, so let's say maybe they do 1 trade here and then 2 trades here, where it looks like they're trying to circumvent the rules in order to keep that position, I would drop them down to 0%, move everybody else up 1, so that person C now would be 2nd place, person B would be 3rd place, and person E would be 4th place. Person B would drop down to 5th place. Even if at the end of week 6, and let's say this is the final week, let's say even at the end of week 6, and I look at their grades, or I look at their returns, so it's the final week, and these folks all did their 5 trades. So let's say they've done their 5 trades all the way along. So even if this was the case, because they hadn't been participating, I would drop them down to 0. And essentially, all of these people's grades would be bumped up to reflect their position. That's just an example. Okay, so it is possible that even if you do trades, that you're doing it just to kind of do something so you can't be quote unquote caught. You still might be subject to this. So the lesson is, even as we're coming to the end of the competition, continue to be participating. All right. I'm just going to go into the Q&A here really quickly, see if anybody has a question. If you do, you can submit it here. I'm going to carry on taking a look at the email then. And I do see that there are 2 viewers. If either of you would like to practice a Google Hangout, you can send me an email and we'll do that afterwards. If you're not in this. Okay. So buy and hold glitches. So this, even though this was a stock track issue, there have been some glitches in stock track. This is what's kept me busy over the last few weeks, trying to get these sorted out with the people at stock track. So so yeah, that's hopefully sorted out. Now it's most likely going to mean me having to do a buy and hold competition manually, and I'm in the process again of getting that all sorted out. There were some other issues as well with at the beginning when people had started off their buy and hold portfolios, they hadn't put in enough stocks. So what I just wanted to go through these 3 scenarios here with you and sort of how I'm going to go about remedying that. So let's go through this scenario 1. Let's say you didn't have enough cash portfolio, or you had too much cash in your portfolio. It was only supposed to be 5%. And that was written right into the specifications. So let's say you had a portfolio, and I'm just going to create one here, stock 1, and we're going to drag this down. And you had your 20 stocks, and you had your cash. So here's your allocation of funds, and let's say that you, in your $1 million, you had put $40,000 into each of these. This is just an example, right? So your total equities, is the total value of the equities at the time you started would have been $800,000. With $1 million, your cash would have been $200,000, or %20 of your portfolio. The maximum it was allowed to be was 5%. So here's the adjustment then that we would make. So let's say now that we are in week 3, and what sort of return would your portfolio have shown? Well, and again, I'm just going to do a bit of an example here. Let's say each of your stocks had returned 5%. Okay, so each had returned 5%. Let's say there was a zero return on your cash. So you had $20,000. Well, the total value of the portfolio, obviously when you started off, would have been $1 million. And then now it would be $1,040,000. So the total return would have looked like this. It's showing a 4% return, right? It's showing a 4% return, but it doesn't reflect, it still has allowed you to have this 20% cash. Well, you might think, well, big deal, there's been a 0% return on my cash. Why does it matter? It's actually bringing my portfolio down. Well, let's say the markets are doing poorly, and instead of every stock, the securities being positive as a whole, the securities have been negative, and that's certainly the case that we've had. So let's say every stock has gone down by 2%. Well, you would kind of be at an unfair advantage here, because even though all of these would have gone down by 2%, and anybody who had more cash allocated to their portfolio, so let's show a proper distribution example where we only have 5% cash. So with 5% cash, and I'm just going to distribute this equally. At most 5% cash divided by 20. So this would have been the start. I'll put that in there. So here we go. So you would have had to purchase $950,000 of securities. And you only would have had $50,000 worth of cash. Well, let's take a look at what would have happened in week 3 then. Again, same scenario where every stock lost 2%. Well, look at what's gone on now then. And assuming, again, you don't have any return on your cash, then you would have had $50,000 of cash. And your total portfolio would have been worth, and I'm going to show it here for you, would have dropped to 1.9%, because this kind of gave you a bit of a buffer, right? This 220. So where you had too much cash, it gave you a buffer. Everything went down by 2%. Everything went down by 2%. So it kind of gave you a bit of a buffer because this stayed at 0, which is better than going down by 2%. So you would actually have a better return. It's helped you out in the competition. So here's the adjustment that I am going to make. If you have too much cash in there, and I'm just going to show you what it says here in the email. I'll show this to you again here. Give me one moment. So what I've said is that I'm just going to have any cash withdrawn from your account. I'll just withdraw that from your account and likely do that manually. So any cash that you started off with, that's important because you may have gotten dividends along the way. So the only, pardon me, that's not what you wanted to see. The only, so here's the adjustment that I would make to your account. So obviously we'd leave all of these the same, but now I'm going to take away $150,000, so that we only have $50,000 of cash in there. That would represent 5% of the original account. We're still going to base your return, so you can see obviously you would have lost $150,000. We're still going to base your return on $1 million. So obviously that's going to impact some people. Unfortunately, but that's just the nature of a simulation. And again, if you're not sort of following what's been specified in the real world, there would be larger consequences. So that's sort of the first thing that we're going to, so one of the adjustments we have to make it fair for everybody who's followed the rules. Okay, so the way I think through it is that we've got one person here who followed the rules, one who didn't. The person saying, well, this is unfair. Well, hold on, you're benefiting at the expense of the person who followed the rules. So if you haven't followed the rules, it's either the person who didn't is going to get hurt, or the person who did follow the rules is going to get hurt, or you are going to get hurt. this person who followed the rules shouldn't get hurt by your action. So you have to, that's literally taking responsibility for your action there. So, all right, in the next one, just wanted to go through this with you really quickly. Again, in the next one, we have too few stocks in the portfolio. So if you had, let's say, 19 stocks,